Panel discussion on cloud security posture management, ensuring security in multi-hybrid cloud environments. Let me introduce our moderator, Hetal Presswala, CISO KALPATARU Projects International Limited. Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Hetal? Hetal is a forward-thinking technology leader with extensive expertise in cybersecurity, dedicated to maintaining the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of enterprise information systems, with a deep commitment to turning evolving industry risk into strategic technology roadmaps and robust security programs. Hetal has made a significant impact throughout their career. A skilled strategist and problem solver, Hetal excels at integrating technology, people, and processes to design proactive defense plans that continuously elevate an organization's security posture maturity. With this, I would like to introduce our panelist of the day, Sandesh, Raut, CISO, Larsen, and Toubro. Dr. A. Shiju Rawther, PhD, Chief Technology Officer, SBI Mutual Fund. Ajay Awale, CIO, Aquapharm Chemicals Private Limited. Stephen George, VP Enterprise Infrastructure, HSBC. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. So today we'll be going to talk about cloud security posture management. I just bring you a little back. We will be using the application servers on-prem, and we are into the dilemma that moment we put our workload or servers into the cloud, which means we are protected. Unfortunately, it's not. You are just getting the workloads. You need to ensure that security are also deployed, appropriate control also be deployed, so that you will be able to identify any kind of misconfiguration. You'll have a visibility. You'll also have any kind of attack privileges happen, or somebody's database has been directly accessible from internet, and so on and so forth. Right? So today, our esteemed panelists will going to run through us that how and which way we will be able to protect our workload using the CSPM. So the question first to Stephen, can you just tell me about how does the CSPM solution helps enforce list security privilege policy for both human as well as the devices across multiple cloud solutions?
Thanks, Hetal. And good afternoon, everybody. So the views are here expressed by me are personal basis the experience that I've gathered. Okay. So having a cloud security platform in a multi-cloud environment, it's very important that how we control the accesses, how we manage those accesses. Now, we started with some processes. Now they have become a hygiene thing for us, the basic hygiene that is needed to manage our identity and access management across the environment that we have. We talk about something known as least privilege access. So giving accesses to the people only relevant and needed. So we are still struggling. I am part of a bank which is huge, 200 years old and all. So we are still struggling to maintain the quorum of having a control on the privilege access management of our vendors and users. So how cloud security helps us is here, the platform helps us is having, enforcing some of the rules, the regulations and the controls that we have to have in place. Just enforcement of just-in-time accesses, enforcement of just enough accesses. I hope you guys have heard about this. Then having very stringent role-based controls. I'm talking about human. Having role-based controls and having attribute-based controls, which is very important. While we are incepting a new product, everyone needs an access. Everyone is curious to see the moment they see a presentation or a GUI. Once we start using it, and once there is a restructuring in a larger organizations, we have rampant accesses, and then we see the performance of the tool also going down, and then we have a lot of rogue accesses which are lying, which are not of no use. So there are processes that are being implemented that needs to be followed thoroughly in terms of the timelines that we need to review those accesses. We had issues with management saying we don't want to review those every quarter, make it 6 months. But there is a flip side to it. Now it has gone back to 1 month, where we are reviewing for the critical applications that we have. So for human, we talk about a lot of things. Now there is something known as non-human identities. So that comprises of your APIs, your device identities, your machine identities. Now we are using a lot of bots, their identities, and accesses to be controlled on all of these identities is very important. How we do it, how we manage it, is having a very stringent control on the inventory of what accesses are there. Okay, periodic review of these accesses for the non-human entities. Let that be a server. And now we are using rampantly the APIs. For anything that we do, we use an API. And the moment we need to enhance something, we need access to the APIs. So is it a one-time access or is it a long-term access, and how do we want to view at it? So this is an evolving ground, and this is going to be very crucial for all of us, how we manage and maintain and keep the lights on for the identity and access domain within our IT infrastructure. So this is all I can talk about.
Yes, so Stephen, you have addressed very good point that before any devices coming into the ecosystem, it has to show its posture first, user or maybe devices, interactive or non-interactive, and then basis of that, basis of the passport, I'll call it as passport in a short one. If it's a legitimate, then only I provide the access. It's kind of zero trust in the clouds, so that once it's been quantified, validated, and then only the access will be available. Oh, it's a very good point, Stephen. So I'll again circle back to you in the next question, but before that, I wanted to ask the question to Dr. Shiju that, see, the identity what we do is not one and all for the cloud security posture management. There are so many sophisticated threats are spread, and the attacker has a latest technology armed in his portfolio. So how do we automate and mechanism in place of within the and with the help of CSPM detect, respond, and contain in case if that comes into the cloud security?
Thank you, Hetal. Good afternoon, everyone. We understand that we are in between your lunch and the panel, so we will not take much time, but definitely every sessions when we attend, it's more from the learning factors from each other. And the topic today is nothing less than interested, which is cloud, definitely, and the boom which is moving on from on-premise to the cloud. So definitely when we look into the cloud piece, cloud is nothing, just to give perspective, the myth is that most of the things are automated, secured in the cloud, which is not really the case of. So if I want to correlate and analyze the cloud version from a housing residence, say for example, we used to live in bungalows, correlate that into your on-premise data centers where you had to build everything, fence, ring fence, securities and everything. And then we moved to a more sophisticated way of model, which was say apartments, wherein we had some sort of security which was built into it. That became the co-location centers. But in case if we want to look into more sophisticated things, we can move to a hotels and we can reside out over there, which is a cloud today. So when we move to the hotels also, we have to look upon our own security, we have to build, we have to keep our things safe at our own risks. That's how the cloud comes in picture. Wherein the easiness of the thing is that you can get everything in one touch, rather than looking in terms of buying, procuring, and moving into things, you can do everything out over there. So that's the one good thing what has happened as a infrastructure as a code. So you can build your own things, automate the things out over there much more faster compared to on-premise or any other locations which you are hosting into it. The CSPM, when we look into the CSPM, the basic CSPM factor and the results outcomes are in terms of assessing and detecting any of anomalies much in advance, in proactive way, and also in terms of remediating it in much more faster way. Now, since the multiple data threats, multiple level of threat factors which occurs, and the posture is too big definitely a person can't do, a person cannot monitor it independently. So that's how the automation comes in picture. Now, when we look into the automations, every tool has a capability to move into the automation way, given someone has a capability to integrate it. Because when Stephen spoke about the APIs, now multiple APIs which you'll have to integrate, so it's a matter of the skills which will have to be brought into the table. You can build in terms of the anomaly detections, even into terms of identity detections. Now the advantage out over that, everyone speak about the AI and ML. More than we speak, the other part of the world is using it in terms of attacking us. So we have to be very cautious in terms of making sure that what we use, which we can consume for our own business productivity purpose. For them, there is no reluctant in terms of using for any of the costs, whether it's hit, success or failure. Because for them, one success is a failure for us. So automation can be done, but automation has to be done in a very cautious way so that we know from where we are consuming the APIs and how do we consume, because today we can consume the APIs for any of the services available out over there. But depends what happens, we are highly dependent on the vendors or the partners to implement it. So being automation, one key thing what I would recommend, that skills is the one key things. Internally, someone should know what all automation has done, because if the automation fails, someone should know where it has failed and how to rectify it. So automation, I can speak full day, even though the sessions will not be a good enough time to cover it up. So I leave it to the others to speak about it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's Dr. Shiju, you have actually given a very good insight about it. So it clicks on my mind that attacker adopting a sophisticated tool and AI is a revenue model for them, and for us it's a defending model. So if they have a latest missiles and weapons in their portfolio, we also need to have that weapon in our portfolio to defend ourselves, right? So that's very key important piece which you have, and you have given a very good, nice analogy about apartment, hotels, and so it's absolutely great. Thanks. I will again circle back to you. So the next questions to Sandesh. So Sandesh, we have talked about identity, we talked about threat management. Now, for us, it is very, very important to have established visibility and monitoring about what kind of workload has, what kind of configuration we have, and does it has any kind of nuances in terms of ecosystem which we deployed, and in case, how should we take this forward to ensure that we have gained more visibility? Because if you have an audit lens, you will be able to gain more, and then it makes attacker life difficult to compromise our ecosystems.
Yeah, thank you, Hetal. So good afternoon, everyone. So when we are talking about a cross-cloud or a multi-hybrid cloud environment, first we need to understand why are people using or utilizing cross-cloud environments, correct? So we are going in for disaster recovery, we are going in for cost cutting, because maybe one of the cloud environments has a higher cost optimization as compared to the other cloud environment. Other than these, there are hybrid solutions, best of class hybrid solutions which people want to use. So this is how the use of multi-hybrid cloud has started increasing, and the reason of visibility and monitoring, which are key aspects of it, correct? So we need to understand that we are opening up attack surfaces now, because multiple hybrid cloud environment use is opening up the attack surfaces on a wider scale. And we also need to understand that from a cloud perspective, the infrastructure is growing rapidly, because we are unaware of the provisionings and the deprovisionings of assets, workloads which are happening on cloud. So visibility and monitoring are very key aspects which we should start focusing on. And cloud security posture management tool, CSPM tool, can really provide a cutting edge in this type of scenarios. What does a CSPM do in terms of visibility and monitoring? How is it helping us out? So a CSPM generally, as Shiju and Stephen has also said, there are a lot of API integration configurations which are happening, correct? So we integrate multiple APIs, and because of this, there is a continuous evaluation of metadata and configuration data which is being fed into the CSPM solution, correct? So because of this, there are a lot of misconfigurations, lot of vulnerabilities which are getting identified, and it was very difficult for us to basically use multiple tools to go to every cloud environment and try to do a scan of these misconfigurations or vulnerabilities. Also, talking about misconfigurations, if we see the Gartner report, if we see the Thales report, it says that there are human errors which are leading to misconfigurations. And we talk of cloud data breaches today. Almost 80% of the cloud data breaches are due to the misconfigurations that are there in the environments, correct? So CSPM is giving us a very good visibility over this misconfigurations, so we can create a strategy around it to make sure that how these misconfigurations can be taken care. Also, when we talk of the good old story of inventorizing our assets or the workloads, correct? So when we use multiple cloud environments, it is becoming much more difficult for us to actually inventorize these assets. So when I talk of a VM also, if you take in case of a workload, there are multiple disks, there are multiple IPs, public IPs which are attached to a particular workload, right? So even tomorrow if we decide to deprovision such kind of an asset, there are multiple remnants which are left behind in terms of these assets. So it is also affecting somewhere the cost on the cloud environment. So when you have a CSPM, obviously it gives the visibility where you can do a cost optimization as well. So this is something which is there. Also, when we talk of the next thing, it is about the compliance mapping, it is about the configuration analysis. So it is doing a continuous configuration analysis for us. So I would like to make a statement here is that CSPM is something where we can say that we will be in a situation where it will be always be aware, kind of a thing, right? So because whenever there is a new provision resource which is there on cloud, example I take is suppose of a S3 bucket. If we make it public, immediately the attackers, the bad people who are sitting at the other end, they start attacking you, correct? And it takes time for us to visualize that something like this has happened, because there are two teams who are working on an environment. There is an infra team, there is a security team. So the infra team is unaware of the security aspects which are to be taken care. So when the infra team actually spins up a resource in an environment and it opens up multiple issues which are misconfigurations or vulnerabilities, that is where the attacks start happening, correct? So CSPM is giving us a continuous real-time monitoring around these kind of things where we can try to take care of those vulnerabilities, those misconfigurations. Again, when we talk of varied industries, there is compliance which has to be met, correct? So we have multiple compliance regulations. Example, we also take a lot of benchmarks today like CIS and NIST to take care of what controls need to be deployed on the cloud end. So it gives a very good picturization of what kind of controls are required to be implemented on the cloud front, so that we can try to be compliant to these controls and also be compliant to the regulations which we are trying to meet. When I take a use case, suppose someone like a system integrator is trying to use multiple cloud environments and it has multiple customers, like someone is a payments industry and someone is an e-commerce industry. So there are two different types of regulations that you have to take care of. Suppose I take an example is ISO 27001 and PCI DSS. So using a tool like CSPM, all of these regulations you get at one place. You try to analyze the resources which are there on the cloud, and we can make sure that these regulatory compliances are taken care. So this is something where I need to sum up. So I think the CSPM tool is giving us a better and more control over the cloud environment in terms of visibility and monitoring.
Yeah, perfect, Sandesh. So with this, when he was talking about the visibility, it is important for us to know when the infra has been set it up, who's talking to whom. That's very key element of it. And that's how we'll have to build our ecosystem, that server A is talking to B, B is talking to C, and then how we establish the control. And at the same time, when the API was just called, so during one of the assessment which we did, it's hit my mind, click on my mind that one of the API, we have seen that when it was built, the copy, whatever is the transaction is happening, the copy was used to go to the attacker. And that we identified when we do the manual assessment of it. So that is also important that we picked up with the help of CSPM. So CSPM will also give you visibility in terms of, in case of any anomaly or unauthorized access or communications happening, you will be able to quickly and immediately establish a control so that you will be able to protect your informations what going out and what coming in, right? So that's a really key aspect of it. So next question now to Mr. Ajay, that we've been talking about identity, then the visibility, and then the threat perspective. Now, can you tell me in terms of how do we automate all this stuff and remediate so that we will be able to reduce human error, and in case somebody does it by mistake, how do we make it roll it back so that will help in terms of making automated response? So would you just throw some lights there?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Hetal. It's a good opportunity to speak. So I represent a manufacturing organization, which is typically a chemical manufacturing organization. And so for any manufacturing organization, it's a typical set of, portfolio products actually, which they use in fact. So comparative to other industries, maybe, R&D or any other industries, manufacturing normally typically has a straight way or straight path to structure about actually. So when we say cloud, so cloud itself is a new thing for manufacturing sector, but today I think it's quite rolled out well, I would say. And a belief in cloud itself is now increasing day by day. So all traditional manufacturing sectors are also on the cloud platform. So for example, I think being into chemical also, we are 100% on cloud, I would say. That's one part. And when we say remediation, actually, it's quite easy when you talk about on paper itself. Why? Because if you block everything and then start giving accesses based on the approving things or, validation things, then it's quite easy actually. And when we relate these things to your day-to-day life, it's like, when you go to a mart and intentionally buy something actually which is there pre-minded at home, say 4 things you have to buy in a mall, and then you went inside, then you turned out to, buying at least 15 or 20 things and come out. So that kind of mindset, gives you a little bit threat on commercial side, I would say. But if you really think 4 things you have to buy at home and go to a grocery shop and then buy 4 things, then you are doing the right thing actually. Same applies to your security front. If you are blocking everything on the cloud front, think of the favorable softwares or tools which are there, authorized tools for your organization. Then think on the access level at that point. Think on the user behavior inside, what they want actually. Then just posture everything on the paper and do that part only. I mean, that's the right thing to do actually. We call it as a policy here. And I have explained the policy on paper, for example. So write policies in place, and only those policies are working well, you are okay. I mean, I'm not saying you're 100% safe, because threat attackers, hackers are always, one step ahead. But you can definitely, define a blocking state for your organization when you think that blocking everything, allowing whatever is required, and adhere to your own policies. So this works out, because we have done that in my earlier organization also. I mean, this is what I have experienced. 10 years back, nobody was knowing the cyber threat, but still cyber threat was there. And I personally experienced many attacks actually, but typically I can speak about one, which was a ransomware attack in the earlier past organization. It's not good to name the organization, but yeah, my experience I can definitely tell because it's my own thoughts. So what we did at that time, it was a backup server which got attacked on the ransomware. We analyzed that. Obviously, we obsolete that from the network and then kept it aside. We analyzed that, but ultimately we thought to give it to the right consultants actually who are there in the market. Consultant also analyzed that backup server. We wanted that backup server because, a certain development was there inside, and we wanted that development to, carry forward for the final product out. But unfortunately, even a good consultant also didn't make it working, because ransomware is one thing wherein if it happens, actually you have to forget that thing. Either you have to pay a lot of money, negotiations. There are different advocates for that industry. You have to pay for that and then get the things done for you. So once it happens actually. So you have to only precautionary things can save you actually. And the cloud remediation, as you said, somebody definitely, I think Abhijit, he explained the internal threat. So here again, 70% carries the internal threat to save you as a remediation. Right training to internal people. Do not attempt for any external things which are not related to your work, and how to identify, certain attempts done by the outside people to catch you actually. Because a lot of links are coming from email, then many lucky draws, many attractive things comes to your inbox, and then you have to, follow that. People do that actually, but in your professional way, in your personal way also, I mean, it's really not advisable to follow certain links actually, because these are, nobody gives you anything in free. That concept you have to always, abide. So it's a mixture of, remediation, I would say, internal as well external. For external, you have a lot of technologies in place. Today, I think the technology is doing a good job actually. Why? Because AI also is in picture, ML is also in picture, and this brings you a certain, provisioning of taking decisions to protect yourself. So I cannot name the companies here, but the products which are there for cloud security, those are really doing good job. So for example, in 1 second, can you think how many, hackers or, how many things strike at your network? Nobody can imagine, but it's millions, okay? It is absolutely millions. When somebody is getting connected to network, you are open for anything that is coming to you, which is in terms of millions and billions. So today's tools definitely protect everything. If anything is coming, breaking that, then I think it's your policy. So you have to.
So you mean to say anything is unusual has been detected, or anything has been not as per the pattern, then it has to be identified and remediate automatically. That's what you meant to say, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
great. So we have only 1 minute but I have one more question to ask. Quick questions to all of us, because we have talked about identity, we have talked about the access management, we talked about the remediation process, threat process, but very important piece is the cloud. We have no clue on how and which way our workloads are. So every organization is skeptical about compliances. So the last 10 list question for Mr. Ajay is about the risk and compliance management. How does the CSPM help in terms of ensuring the compliances to multiple regulators in hybrid cloud? And can you just give us a quick? No, Dr. Ajay. Sorry, Dr. Shiju, sorry, my bad.
So it's a very good question actually. And I think the regulators are very keen about it. How do we move to the cloud as well? Because now it's very evident that the regulators have come up with very recently on the cloud framework, adoption of the cloud framework also. So that gives very much insight in terms of how a regulated entities can operate within the compliance limit, but can move to the cloud. Because today we can definitely say that cloud is the way to scalability, because on-premise data centers and co-location data centers are not the way to scale the way the transactions are moving in. The circular also help us in terms of knowing our limitations as well, what we should do, what we should not do, in terms of geographical limitations as well. So how the data can be placed, how to get it encrypted, what we should do in case, even if the data centers are some of the cases, say example, some of the key cybersecurity players wherein the metadata are kept outside. Even the data plane could be in India, but management plane can be outside the India. So that's also very much clearly articulated in the circulars about the do's and don'ts, so which gives us very clear picture how to implement it. But definitely cloud is the way to go for the future.
Perfect. So it also shares in terms of data sharings. If somebody does it, it will give you a compliances in terms of GDPRs and others. So next, same questions to Sifin. Can you just share some thoughts about it? Apart from this.
Yeah, so one of the aspects that I feel is having a very robust observability in place to see if there is any anomaly, a corrective action or a action is taken. So, and it's a very changing landscape, okay? So how we review it, how we refine it, retune it to our consumption is very important, and how we present that. So that is something which we have to adapt as an BAU for all of us to be more non-vulnerable to these threats.
Ajay?
Yeah, I think so. When we say compliance, actually, so either the compliance is defined by your own organization or external compliance, I would say. But here, as a legal business, you can definitely consider the external compliance, for example. And then there are certification bodies who guide well. So we're sponsors of this event also. It's good to consult with them basically, for these kind of things. And for internal, okay, you are the one, CISO, CIO, whoever, you have to define your own policies in that place to comply certain things, surely.
Sandesh?
Yeah. So when we talk of compliance, obviously we try to implement policies, we try to implement different processes around it, controls around it, correct? So in terms of compliance mapping, when we see CSPM is helping us out to actually give an audit-ready documentations also. So that is something which is very important. We need to have these documentations ready because it is continuously monitoring around and giving us a report out of it, correct? So that is something. And when we talk of the key security principles today, which are defense in depth, or you talk of security by design, correct? Least privilege accesses, which we spoke of. So I think it is somewhere very much trying to help us out to deploy these security principles to enhance your cybersecurity architectures. And I think this is where the CSPM is something which can keep on adding up so that we can try to be more compliant to the regulations. And as Shiju said, obviously geographic locations, different geographic locations. So it will still keep on helping us managing these different geographic locations compliances.
Perfect. So I think we touched on most of the point. And it gives me, with the compliances, it build the confidence to our customer as well as the management that yes, whatever the systems or data stored in the cloud is protected and it is on a right place, right? So it gives that kind of confidence. So I'm winding up the session. Any questions? We are happy to take it. Or all yours. Any questions? We are outside. If you have any question, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hetal, for moderating the session so well. And thank you to all our panelists for the beautiful session. I would like to call upon stage Mr. Mayank Sharma, Global Privacy Officer and DPO at CRISIL Limited, to do the honors.